Sasha who? Amanda what? May the 4th be with you. Let NXT show you the way. Oh yes. What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC reality check here with your May 4th, indeed, NXT review. Happy Star Wars Day to my fans out there that are extreme Star Wars people. I'm sorry that Sasha Banks snuck her way onto one of your shows. I'm sure you'll be fine. Go back and watch the movie. She's not there. I promise. We're going to do the house cleaning, because the house cleaning's full of a lot of good stuff. A couple of you actually asked me, because I put the picture up on social media, because I live in a super shitty area of Ontario that is like overrun with the COVID. I got to fast track towards getting my vaccine. Got my first vaccine on Monday, and for those of you that are asking, yes, it feels like I've got punched in the arm, but it is what it is. I'm not dying, my arm hasn't fallen off, I'm not Bucky, even though we just did Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Go check out FlixFix. Apparently I'm getting my next one in August, which means there might be a Halloween in my future. It's good. Lockdown is not good for me. Look at this shit. This shit is unacceptable. Now, that's the awkward and unfortunate shit out of the way. What's a little bit more fortunate? You know, what's important in life is to set small goals for yourself. Now, I know, and I know that you guys know if you've been following this channel long enough, we do not make gains on this channel by leaps and bounds. We make gains on this channel one subscriber at a time, one video at a time. So, still relatively small. I appreciate you guys, don't get me wrong. Quality over quantity every single time is what I'm going to pick. But I set a small goal for myself a couple months ago, because we were getting close, to be 1,100 subs. Now I'm not delusional. I know that in the grand scheme of YouTube, for the length of time that I've been on here, 1,100 subs ain't that much. But you know what? I said it. We got there. Nice round number, 1,100. I guess the next one's going to be 1,200, and we'll keep crawling along. But I do, all sarcasm aside, and all humbleness aside, if I know how to be humble, thank you to all of you that are out there that have been watching. I know there's a lot of you, especially in the comment section in the chat, that have been watching me for a hell of a long time. Really do appreciate it. Gotta, as always, send a quick shout out to the amazing co-hosts that I have on this channel, because I'm incredibly lucky. This channel would not be what it is right now if I didn't have the co-hosts that I have. If you look at the content on this channel recently, with the rare exception, the only content that you get on this channel right now that's just me is this NXT review. Obviously, Jake DeMarco doing the NXT stuff with me, Guapo doing the AEW stuff with me, Kristen telling wrestling to go fuck itself, and we went off and created FlixFix as sort of a separate subset of this channel, is what you get the rest of the time. You tune in once a week to see the pretty sexy face, as I've become cliche to say. The rest of it is all the people I get to work with. So with no sarcasm and with all the thanks that I can muster, shout out to Guapo, shout out to Kristen, shout out to super sexy Jake DeMarco. Without them, this channel would not be what it is, and I would not be as motivated as I am, especially over the past year or so. So please, on my behalf, please go hit up Twitter, at BlackCatFeline, at Guapo_504, and at Countdown Ended, and show them some love for me, for getting me to where I am today. And yes, there are other people as well. There are other people that have shouted me out. There's the Joe Cronins and the Good Mike Works, and even the occasional person from What Culture, anybody that's not named Michael Sidgwick. So thank you to all of them as well. But there's a difference between the people that have helped me along the way that are awesome, and the people that have literally made this channel what it is. And long may it continue. I mean, we're still in COVID. Like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to watch movies, I'm going to watch wrestling, and we're going to talk about them, and I'm probably going to say something controversial. Speaking of controversial, I'm actually going to say something nice about AEW. As this goes out now, because NXT is on Tuesday, this review will go out Wednesday evening before AEW, because that seems to be the new pattern. It seems to work. People seem to like it. Tell me down in the box below if you don't. So you guys will be watching this right before Blood and Guts. Now, I do want to say, I did try to get Guapo on here. We were going to do a sort of a mini preview for Blood and Guts, sort of some general conversation about AEW, because we haven't done that in a while, and plus get his thoughts, because he was actually at Daly's place a couple weeks ago, the lucky bastard. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. I am hoping to get him back by the time another AEW pay-per-view goes around, if not sooner, but Guapo's definitely still a thing on this channel. AEW is still a thing on this channel. We will work that out at some point, but Blood and Guts looks like a good thing. I mean, and I'm not saying this as negatively as you guys think I am. It is discount War Games. It is. It is literally the same match. I don't mind that. Look at the people involved. Chris Jericho, MJF, you know, whoever else is in the inner circle. You got Santana, Ortiz, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, don't say Revival, because people will get mad in the comment section, FTR, Sean Spears, who's the other one? Wardlow, and I already said MJF. That's going to be a fun match. I don't know how that's going to work in a commercial context. I know they do picture-in-picture and whatever, but that's a long match, and they have to time that out pretty well, so I'm interested to see how that goes. But there's some other good shit on the show as well. There's a Fatal 4-Way for the #1 contendership to the tag titles. I do still stick to what I've said. Like, they hammer home their rating system, so I don't know how we constantly get these 3, 4, 5 person matches, battle royals, etc. to establish #1 contenders when you have a system that's supposed to set that up. But the match itself is going to be awesome. It's the Lucha Express, or not the Dragon Express, whatever the hell they're called, versus the Varsity Blondes versus the Acclaimed. I like the Acclaimed. I will say that right now. I will say the Acclaimed is good. And SCU are doing that whole storyline where if they lose, they have to break up as a tag team. The Cody Rhodes QT Marshall thing. I'm not even saying this as a dig to Cody. You guys know what I think of Cody. There's an entire podcast dedicated to what I think of Cody. My not caring about this match isn't about Cody. My not caring about this particular match is about QT Marshall, because what the fuck is QT Marshall? I dislike Cody. I think I've been honest about that from the onset, and I've had some of my reasons that I think are legitimate. Some of them are probably hyperbole on my part, but that's fine. But I can't stand Cody Rhodes. He gets a reaction out of me in a negative way. You know, it's the John Cena, as long as he's getting a reaction. QT Marshall, I don't even have enough invested in to get angry at or to want him off my skin. I'm just like, who the fuck are you? It looks like one of the techs got lost from the back. Now that doesn't, I'm not making a comment on the guy's wrestling ability. I just don't have a reason to care. And there's something else. Oh, Britt Baker's gonna face somebody. So what's she gonna do? She's gonna face like some jobber from Dark, and then she's gonna call out Hikaru Shida, because in the women's division, she's trying to make the ranking system matter. I mean, that's gonna get us Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida somewhere along the way, is it not? And that's going to be a great match, is it not? So they will have 2 good women's matches in AEW. So they'll say, oh, our division is fine now. I said I was going to be nice, didn't I? I mean, you could say the same thing about NXT's tag team division. There you go. There's where we balance out. But in all seriousness, I will be watching Blood and Guts tomorrow night. I think it's going to be a pretty good show. You guys that are watching me live right now, the chat is over there. We're mere minutes away from the show starting. So if you want to throw some thoughts about Blood and Guts over in the chat, I'll be there, and I will... I'll converse with you about AEW on the NXT review. It's a bit of a parlay, shall we say. We're showing some love to AEW on the NXT review tonight, because the NXT thing tonight just put me in a really, really good mood, and it's set up for next week, which also put me in a really, really, really good mood. But what do I have to do first? I have to do what it says on the clipboard. It says, hey, Spaz, you dumbass, plug the socials. Okay, cool. Twitter, @SpazPhoenix and @SpazPhoenix1. Instagram, @SpazPhoenix. YouTube, Spaz Phoenix Podcast Facebook group. Now, if you're watching me at the Pretty Sexy Face and the Gimmick Hat, you want to see me in an audio platform, go to your favorite audio platform of choice, put in Spaz Phoenix Podcast. If you are over there just listening to me, missing out on the Pretty Sexy Face and the Gimmick Hat, you want to find me on YouTube, search Spaz Phoenix. And yes, please, 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 if you are watching me on YouTube right now, either in the live stream or if you're watching a replay later on down the line, throw something down in the box below. I don't care if you want to be a sarcastic asshole, just literally type out something in the comment section below, because I do still get notifications about once a week, and it's like, yes, people are watching your stuff, but there's no interaction. So YouTube's just annoying. So what you're going to do is you're going to help me tell YouTube to be less annoying. You're going to help me help you. It's the whole Jerry Maguire thing. That's an odd reference to pull out, is it not? Let's talk about tonight's show. Tonight's show had some hardcore matches on it. Yes, it did. There's conspiracy theories going on because, the Blood and Guts match is tomorrow night / tonight, depending on when you're watching this. NXT's trying to get people tired of hardcore matches before the cage match, which is leftover Wednesday Night War patter, isn't it? I mean, NXT won the Wednesday Night War. Last goal wins. We know that. But like, they're not competing with each other. I've found it a lot more interesting now to follow the ratings, to follow what each company does unopposed is more interesting to me, not from a sarcastic point of view, not from a malicious point of view, but just literally from a curiosity point of view, to see what they're doing unopposed rather than the other way around is really, really interesting. But I don't get it. It comes back down to that old argument we used to have when everything was on Wednesday. It's like, they're only putting that on the show so that you'll watch it. Yes, they are. That's not an argument. Let me just tell you. But it is good. We're top and tail in the show with two variations of a hardcore match. You got a false count anywhere in the first match. You got a street fight in the last match. We get a quick video rundown of both of those matches: Leon Ruff versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, and The Way versus Shotzi and Ember. Shotzi and Ember versus The Way is obviously the main event because the gold in the gold and black brand is the women's division, is it not? So we started with Leon Ruff versus Isaiah Swerve Scott, and these guys, I've come and gone on Leo Ruff. You guys know that. I thought, like, okay, they're just going to do... They did sort of the Cinderella story with Gargano, and then after that, what do you do with him? Isaiah Swerve Scott, took me a while to warm up to him as a heel, because I liked him as a babyface. Jesus Christ, these guys went into tonight with two objectives. They're like, we're going to kill each other, and we're going to prove our spot on the roster. Like, that sounds bad. I don't think they need to prove their spot on the roster. They fought this match like they were trying to prove their spot on the roster. So it's false count anywhere. So obviously, I'm actually surprised with how much this actually did take place in the ring. I think it was about a 50-50 split because, let's be real, the CWC isn't a huge venue. Apparently during the commercial break, which Sportsnet doesn't show me here, apparently they fought all through the gym and then came back out again. I didn't see that. So they were on the ramp, they were on the ringside area, and they were in the ring, for as much as I know about the match. But anyways, Ruff starts off the match running into a high knee from Swerve because he's all hyped up, he's all pissed off, he's all ready to go. Swerve's coming in calm, cool, collected when Ruff tries to run in and start the match by jumping him. He just lifts a knee and literally it's like a self-inflicted knee to the face. Was a really... It set the tone for the entire match. Leon Ruff was all revved up. Swerve was confident, the Swerve confident thing. Ruff eats the turnbuckle hard and there's a beat down by Swerve. Swerve blocks a crucifix bomb and Ruff tosses out Swerve. Ruff goes, this is the first one of many. Ruff goes for a suicide dive. He gets caught across the shoulders by Swerve in the fireman carry position. Goes for a Death Valley driver, but not just a Death Valley driver on the floor. That's not enough. You got a Death Valley driver against the edge of the ring. So not only are you being dropped in a Death Valley driver on the floor, your head is hitting the floor, your back and hips and legs are hitting the edge of the ring, which, if you remember Taz commentary, is the hardest part of the ring. Ruff eats the guardrail on the outside and then the plexi fence wall, and there's a stomp on the ramp by Swerve, which is metal. I love the metal ramp in NXT. It makes that sound. It changes it. It makes it different. Knee drops to the face by Swerve when they get back in the ring, and he works over the midsection. A top rope stalling suplex by Swerve. And I mean, he picked him up and stood on that top rope before he decided he was going to drop him down. It was two dominoes. It was not even like anybody putting effort into anything. It was just two dominoes falling in slow motion. It was really good. Really, really good. Ruff claws at the face, knocks Swerve back out of the ring. There's a body shot in midair by Swerve, but he tosses Ruff into the wall once again. And just before we go into commercial break, he reaches in under the ring, because, there's chairs, there's tables, there's ladders. We're going to see all of those later on. For right now, I'm just going to hurl a toolbox at your face. Because why? Because he can. As we go to commercial break and NXT rolls on. I know you guys love that. Come back, and apparently they've been fighting in the back, as the commentators tell us, those of us that don't have picture-in-picture. They're fighting on the ramp, and Ruff tosses Swerve off of the stage into one of those rigging posts that really doesn't serve a purpose other than to be climbed on, but then he follows it up with a somersault dive off the stage onto Swerve. There's a top rope, they fight on the top rope, as they're both trying to get back in the ring. They both make their way up, and they're both on the top, and Ruff hits this ridiculous crucifix bomb from the top, and then Ruff runs the... Oh my lord. This, you have to go and watch this. And I'm straying into hyperbole because these guys just knocked this match out of the park. But with Swerve standing on the apron and the stairs sort of kitty corner to where they're supposed to be on the corner, Ruff runs the steps, runs the apron, jumps up, catches Swerve by the shoulder. I'm trying to do this properly. Hits him with a poison rana off the edge of the stage to the floor. He took a... I know there's such thing as a flat back bump, but he took a flat front bump that looks like it would have broken a rib. If it was real, it was really good. And there's impressive spots. We all know that, like, go back to the days where Bayley and Sasha was good because Sasha was tolerable, and they hit the poison run off the top, and then that's pretty much the end of the match. And it is an ooh-ah spot, and we wait for the ooh-ah spot, and we talk about how great it is. I did not expect this, or at least how it came off. Everything in the universe came together perfectly for this particular maneuver to come off as good as it did. Swerve rebounds off the plexi and hits the confidence boost, which is that inverted powerbomb thing that I keep trying to explain to you guys. Swerve eats the steps, Ruff chop blocks him with the toolbox in the back of the knee, and the softest part of the knee. Here, have that toolbox back. Frog splash by Ruff, there's a knee bar, there's a back fist by Swerve to get out of the knee bar, cutter by Ruff, and a second cutter on the outside, and Ruff goes into the tech area, which is basically a curtain with a set of stairs behind it. I mean, but NXT's trying. He's going to do something off the top, and then big random motherfucker, who's apparently, according to commentary, named AJ Francis, catches him and gives him a Death Valley driver spine first over the guardrail, and then sort of deposits him in the ring for Swerve. They rush to tell us, rush, not rough, it's fine, they rush to tell us that AJ Francis is part of Swerve's entourage. Now, I will admit that I don't pay very much attention to the Swerve promos from inside the recording studio, because I think it's a little bit laid on. I think it's a little bit of, I've got another job other than wrestling. I'm actually a musician, which it has weird Jeff Jarrett vibes. It doesn't register for me. So if this has been a thing for a couple of weeks, then I've missed it, and I apologize. And again, put it down in the box below. Tell YouTube that you're actually talking to me. But this guy is apparently part of his entourage, which is basically his Commander Aziz, if you're following SmackDown. But basically, yeah, Death Valley driver on the guardrail, and then tosses him back in the ring, and Swerve hits some kind of slam and gets the win. He wins, and he's celebrating with several members of his entourage on the ramp. The thing over the guardrail reminds me of, there was an X Division match, and I believe it was the match where what's his name? Josh Alexander, who is still our current Destiny champion. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. He sort of gave a slam like that to Trey Miguel, who was next to a table that was flipped upwards with the feet up, and he sort of slammed him over the protruding feet. This was sort of a safer version of that, because you got the black guardrail, it's got the flat surface on it. It's a little bit safer than doing it on the broken piece of a table, but it reminded me of that. I saw a little bit of rebellion, and oh yeah, Kenny Omega's the double champion. Yay. I'm happier with Josh Alexander having his 2 titles than I am with Kenny having his 12 or whatever, because he's not Cena. Not at all. Nope. Anyway, Swerve gets the win. We get introduced to, why does the light hate me? Why? Why is that a thing? There we go. We don't need that tonight, right? Swerve gets the win. I assume that this is going to continue, and it's now going to be Leon Ruff versus Swerve and his entourage. He's probably going to get a bunch of faces together. It's fine. Balor arrives at the CWC because he's returning after being on vacation. I don't know how you're putting over Balor as any sort of, like, even moderate babyface if you're showing him on vacation in the time where the rest of us are still in lockdown and COVID is still a thing and travel is probably not a thing you should do. Anyways, The Way is in the back, and by the way, I mean Gargano and Theory. They're looking for William Regal. They burst into William Regal's office, who's talking to Scarlett. Gargano says he should have all William Regal's attention because he's the #1 champ in NXT, and Theory looks at I shouldn't like this because it's immature as hell, but fuck me, I do. He just looks at Scarlett and he says, "Oh my God, those are huge. Are they real?" Looking directly at her tits. Like, let's not mince words here. But obviously, she holds up her hand and it's like the claws that she has in her gloves. Now, I will say, this is a separate thing that has nothing to do with wrestling. I've tried not to talk too much about the COVID stuff on this channel because you guys come here to hear me talk about wrestling. But one of the things that takes us away from COVID is our forms of entertainment. Obviously wrestling, obviously movies, obviously TV, etc. I watch 2 shows that are medical adjacent, and yes, they are Station 19 and Grey's Anatomy. Go ahead and laugh at me if you want. I stopped watching them. Because they were bumming the shit out of me, and because they stopped writing stories for their episodes. It was literally just Shonda Rhimes, and yes, I'm going to take a dig at Shonda Rhimes here, just looking out her window and seeing what the world is doing today. So we threw in a bunch of COVID for reasons. We threw in a bunch of BLM for reasons. We threw in a bunch of 9/11, which is not happening right now. I don't get it, and it bums the shit out of me because it's where you're supposed to go. Wrestling is where you're supposed to go. Movies are where you're supposed to go. If the theaters were open, TV is where you're supposed to go, especially with your fictional stuff, to get away from the shit that sucks in real life. So what I've done instead to cheer myself up from how shitty the real world is, what brings me up a notch is Scandal and Game of Thrones. I'm rewatching Scandal and I'm rewatching Game of Thrones because the show where a bunch of politicians kill a bunch of people and the show where a bunch of royal families kill a bunch of people, the show that gave us the Red Wedding, is cheering me up from our current circumstances and the current fictional TV shows that have decided to suck in our current circumstances. The reason I watch that, the reason I mention that is to quickly get me to a Game of Thrones reference, because Scarlett, harbinger of our brand new NXT champion, is still Khaleesi as fuck. Yes, long road, short ending. There we go. Cameron Grimes taking on Asher Hale, who's like a brand new guy, I guess. It's squash for Cameron Grimes, but I don't want to treat it like squash for Cameron Grimes because I like this guy, Asher Hale, more than Cameron Grimes. This front slam by Grimes, side headlock by Hale, headlock get reversed by Grimes, this low drop kick by Hale. Hale works on the leg, uppercuts by Grimes and a mudhole stomp, boot and an enziguri by Hale. Hale does one of the coolest things, not one of the coolest, but one of the most innovative things I've seen in quite a while. He basically props up Cameron Grimes on so he's leaning on the top rope like this. If you're listening to me in an audio, I'm sorry, but just imagine somebody with their arms basically up on the top rope. He basically takes both of his legs, crosses his legs over, and then dragon screws both the legs. And I'm just like, that would fucking wreck if that was real. But boot by Hale, a missed drop kick, kitchen sink by Grimes, black hole slam, and a cave in, get the win. But the one thing in the middle, he had a good bit of like, I guess you would say response offense, and then that one doubled over dragon screw out of the ropes was good. It was a good thing. It's like I said in the first match, that poison Rana off the edge of the apron was insane, and it stuck out more than anything else in that match. The double dragon screw out of the ropes with this guy who I don't know, so I'm paying more attention. It's kind of like Zeta Ramiro, who we're going to talk about in a second. It's good. It's like her hitting the shooting star press last week and getting the Flash victory, and yeah, I mean, simple thing for Cameron Grimes. He gets the win. When we come back from the commercial break, he's hanging out in the back with Everrise for reasons, and he says, "Oh, the 3 of us are gonna get into the VIP tonight because we're all going to the moon," and he says, "Oh, the 3 of us," and he says, "Yeah, me, myself, and Cameron Grimes." The guy I don't know got more of my attention than the guy that they're trying to push with the $1 million thing. Anyways, you know who I do like though? Well, basically the entire NXT women's division, but specifically Catanzaro and Carter. They talk some more shit about Tian Sha and how they're not afraid and how it's not a scary monster movie. We're still sitting here waiting. Come and get it type thing. But they're also keeping a tight eye on the women's tag team championship match in the main event tonight. At which point, Frankie Monet comes along and tells them how cute they are and that they're her favorite tag team. They're not going to win any titles anytime soon, but it will come one day. And it's really good. And she hasn't had a match yet, but she's so endearing herself to the roster, is she not? She really is. And I said this kind of as a joke either last week or the week before, but she really is doing the old school, hi, I'm Dolph Ziggler thing from when Ziggler first debuted, and I don't mind that. It's really good. She's found a different, like, they're putting this idea across that she's really watching the roster. She really knows how to get under people's skin. She knows how to get under each wrestler's skin, and we're going to touch on that again later on tonight. But, you know, just finding the two smallest girls on the roster, and saying, "Oh, you guys are cute. You guys are adorable. You guys are my favorite little tag team, and you'll get a tag team title. Won't be anytime soon, though." It's such a perfect counter to Catanzaro and Carter and the constant, like, little dog in the fight attitude that they have. I thought it played off really well. I don't know enough about what she's like in the ring. I mean, I know she was in TNA. I know she had a pretty good run in TNA. I know I've seen matches with her in, but I don't yet have a full picture. So every person she pisses off is somebody that I like. Like, she pissed off Io Shirai. She's pissing off Catanzaro and Carter. She pissed off, I think, the women's tag team champions last week. She was involved when they got the flowers and they were from Dexter Lumis and rah-rah-rah. But she's finding different ways to get under all these people's skin, but every single person's skin she's getting under is somebody that I like and somebody that I wouldn't mind her trying her act against. It will fit into a larger conversation about new talent on the amazing women's roster that I'm going to save for later on. Because right now, we've got the Grizzled Young Veterans versus Ciampa and Thatcher. And I will say, this match was good. It was everything that you expected it to be. They did beat the absolute hell out of each other. I'm going to kind of skip over some of the details. Ciampa kills people. Grizzled Young Veterans kill people. Timothy Thatcher kills people in an entirely different way. They did play off of the if you hate Gibson, shoes off thing, because Ciampa gets thrown out of the ring at one point and he's sort of down by the commentator table. Wade Barrett happens to mention that all of a sudden one of his shoes is missing. Ciampa tosses Wade Barrett's shoe from commentary to Thatcher. He uses it for a weapon shot, locks in an armbar, and gets the win over the Grizzled Young Veterans. Now, in any other scenario, would I like that cheap victory? No. But because it's not just a goofy spot, oh my god, can you imagine hitting somebody with a shoe? Let's get out all the Austin Powers references. But because, in this particular case, they're facing people for whom that is an actual insult with history and meaning and stuff like that, it gets an absolute free pass from me. It absolutely does. Because, like, especially if you watch NXT UK, and I know it's a very small percentage of the population that watch NXT UK, but the shoes off thing, if you hate Gibson, was surprisingly loud, and I didn't get it when I saw it at first, and though I quickly realized, like, you don't have to get it, it's just a thing that is. It's like when the commentators pretend that the stairs at the side of the ring are 500 pounds, and oh my god, he must have broken his skull. And they're not actually 500 pounds, they're completely hollow. I'm sure they're not light, but they're not 500 pounds. It's one of those types of things. It's going to be very interesting, because these two teams are two of the toughest teams on the roster. There's another team that's going to throw their hat in the ring in a minute. We'll talk about them when we get there. But, I mean, if you look at the way the Mae Young Classic went, and the Grizzled Young Veterans were in the final, and they were beaten by MSK and rah-rah-rah, and these guys just took them to task, you have to imagine, even though it was never said, it was never even hinted at, you have to imagine this is a surrogate number one contenders match. You have to imagine that Ciampa and Thatcher are gonna get a shot at MSK at some point. And it's a great hill for them to go over, because you've got Thatcher, who's a monster, and Ciampa with the NXT resume that Ciampa has. But you got to do something. Even though I love MSK, and they're great champions, they're a great infusion of excitement and dynamic charisma that the tag team division needs. You're still going to have to do something with them to make beating one of the four pillars of NXT and Timothy Thatcher believable. Now, I want them to do that. I want NXT to take that as a challenge, because it'll show me that you're putting more focus into your tag team division. But I don't know what that looks like right now in my head. Do you remember a long time ago when they announced that it was going to be like Bray Wyatt versus Ryback, and I was like, that's so weird. I don't know what that's going to look like. Maybe they'll surprise us on the night. They absolutely didn't, and the match was shit. But I don't think that's going to happen here. But right now, Ciampa and Thatcher versus MSK is not something I can picture in my head, but it's not something I'm against. I know they're involved in completely separate things, and Gargano's got his own faction now, but if it was DIY versus MSK, that would be fucking phenomenal, even if they did it as a one-night thing. Or next best I can speak, I swear. Next best option, The Way versus MSK, especially after the events of tonight. Moving on. Regal comes back and finds Thatcher, comes and finds Gargano and Theory once again. Gargano tries to get out of his future North American Championship match with Bronson Reed, which they go out of their way to not tell us when that's happening. There's a lot happening next week. That match isn't one of them. And then he just sort of slips in the fact that, you interrupted me when I was talking to Scarlett earlier. Now I've talked to Scarlett and Karrion Kross, and we're getting Karrion Kross versus Austin Theory next week. So all the weirdos out there that like love to hate Austin Theory, you're going to see him get his ass kicked next week. He's absolutely going to get ragdolled. It's fine. We get a video package, but it's not on a single person. It's led off by like, let's take a look at some of the new faces in NXT, and it's specifically focusing on Saray and Zeta Ramir, who debuted last week against Toni Storm. Now, this is pretty cool in a way, because you've got Frankie Monet that's going out making her own way around, and you've got Zoe Stark, who's already got a rocket strapped to her. Now you've got a video package for these two. And as I say, you've still got Cora Jade and Gigi Dolan, who are floating around the Performance Center, floating around the CWC. What's her name? Gigi Dolan was in the fake NXT audience tonight, so let's let her come to the other side of the plexi and let her have a match or two. That'll be great. But they're doing more than like, hey, look at this person. Hey, look at this. They are subtly saying, hey, look at our division. We've got all these people at the top. We've got our Io Shirai and our Mercedes Martinez and our Raquel Gonzalez and our Dakota Kais and Tegan Knox if she ever comes back, and Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, the current women's champions of Shotzi and Ember. We've got all these people that you already know, but look at all these people that we're just bringing up as well. The layers. I know you guys are going to get sick of me saying it eventually, but the depth and the layers of the women's division, specifically on NXT, puts everybody else to shame, including the other parts of WWE. Yeah. Yep. Look at the state of the women's division on SmackDown. Yeah. You hate to see it. Kross and Scarlett come out, and Karrion Kross carries on from what he was saying the other week. Karrion carries on. Keep calm and carry on. Anyways, moving on. I shouldn't do jokes when I'm tired, right? All you got to do is step up. Instead of people talking, all they're doing is hiding in the back and saying that they're not afraid. Well, what are you waiting for? Let's give these people a fight. Next week I take out Theory, and then he gets cut off by Kyle O'Reilly's music. He says, why do you think we should be afraid? You're dominant. You're the NXT champion right now. You're the match that I want, and I think this is the match that you want, and I think this is the match that the people want. And he's being cool Kyle O'Reilly. The new character rebrand that stupid people are calling Discount Bin Orange Cassidy, where the ignorance of that is fantastic. Pete Dunne comes out, he says, I don't care what match you guys want, I don't care what match the people want to see, I'm the baddest man in NXT, and if you want to prove it, you can step up to me. And then he's interrupted by Balor, who puts it pretty succinctly. He's, Pete Dunne, been there, done that. Kyle O'Reilly, been there and done that twice. So when you're done with Theory, and he doesn't even finish his sentence, he just takes a swing at Karrion Kross. There's a bit of a four-man brawl that really breaks down quickly to Kross and Balor, but he even gets his shots in on Balor. Balor gets pulled away by security. He's in the ring. And then, if Dunn isn't enough, if Kyle O'Reilly isn't enough, if Finn Balor's not enough, he gets jumped and beaten down by the members of The Way. He fights them off to begin with, but then they hit double super kicks, and then there's a belt shot from Gargano. Gargano does look down at the NXT Championship, the belt that was his at one point, before hitting Karrion Kross with his North American Championship. Either way, Johnny Gargano has to drop the North American Championship. And it's not... He needs to lose up. He needs to lose... very similar to Big E lost the Intercontinental Championship to Apollo. And I love the Apollo gimmick right now. He's basically Killmonger. And I mean that in a good way. He's got the Commander Aziz thing. He's got new motivation, completely new character traits. He's got a heavy. He's got backup. He's going to carry the Intercontinental Championship for a long time. Big E needs to lose up, and he needs to eventually get himself into that main event. See, Gargano needs to do this. Well, he needs to do the same or different. He needs to drop the North American Championship to Bronson Reed, so that Bronson Reed can go have some feuds with some people. Bronson Reed versus Isaiah Swerve Scott is going to be a thing eventually, I'm pretty sure, for that title. But he needs to drop the North American Championship either so that him and Theory can go for the tag team titles, which would be great, or so that he can get back in the main event title mix, because I don't think Gargano's going to beat Karrion Kross, but he will ragdoll himself for Karrion Kross and make Karrion Kross look like $1 million. He won't be his takeover opponent. He'll be the guy that Karrion Kross smacks around on the Go Home episode of NXT before he goes on to face whoever. Maybe Daniel Bryan. That's another conversation for another day. We're not having that conversation tonight. It's fine. The bottom line is The Way stand tall over the NXT champion. Now, to be fair, that's already after he's brawled with 3 other guys and gotten double super kicked and a belt shot to the face. But standing tall is standing tall. If you see an image of one person standing over another, the visual becomes visceral, and that's why it stays in your head, and it works. Zayda Ramir and Saray, the 2 women that you're trying to put over at the moment as your brand new signees. So let's have them in a match with each other. That's really, really, really good. They got a handshake to start because they're both baby faces, which is fine. There's a collar and elbow tie, but both women trade trips. They don't trade shots. They don't trade kicks. They trade like double leg maneuvers, each one knocking the other one down. Headlock by Ramir, suplex by Saray, corner uppercuts by Ramir, and then she rolls into what I think was a modified Regal stretch. It's another situation for you guys to correct me. That's the word I'm looking for, down in the box below. Boots by Saray, who follows that up with a spine buster in that bridge submission she used last week. Basement dropkick by Saray, and a bridging cradle suplex. Missile dropkick by Saray, both women trade strikes, another dropkick by Saray, a corner spear by Ramir, sling blade by Ramir, which is, she hits the sling blade, and she's tiny, and the way she hits the sling blade, the way she hit the shooting star press the other week, it's all good. Release German by Saray, and a Saito suplex gets the win by Saray. Now, when we get back from the commercial break, because the match just ended, there wasn't any post-match assault or anything like that. When we come back from the commercial break, there's an attack that's already happened, and we're led to believe that it's Toni Storm that's taken out Zayda Ramir, predictably, for getting the fluke victory over her last week. But what I like is that she's being seen to not only by Saray, who she just had a match with, so there's a little bit of that earned respect thing, kind of like what Zoe Stark had with Io Shirai when they had each other's back after they earned each other's respect. But you've got Zayda Ramir, who's down, being seen to by Saray and by Zoe Stark, who still has her issues with Toni Storm. Now, there could be, and I could be looking way too hard into this. I could be looking ridiculously too hard into this and expecting a bit too much. There could be a story brewing there, like a generational story, like we're the new kids in town, but we're not going to be bullied by the establishment or the established stars or the established hierarchy. We're going to smash that hierarchy and we're going to find our spot. Now, if these 3 who are the primarily focused new faces in the company, like I say, throw Gigi Dolan in there, throw Cora Jade in there, don't throw Frankie Monet in there because she's a heel, that won't work. I can see her buddying up to the older established stars, but you could have a really cool story there. You could have like a little tiny mini Survivor Series type of situation going on there. That's where I wouldn't mind a takeover coming around and just being like, what was it, the 6-woman tag that they had at Takeover in Your House, where it was just like, here's some people that really deserve some takeover time. Just go. Here's some established heels, here's some brand new baby faces, just go, give us 15 minutes on a takeover, it's good. Speaking of takeover, I've done the next 2 episodes, I actually did have one or two people ask, which means I guess some of you out there are liking the NXT Rewind concept that I put out just before WrestleMania. If you didn't, go back, check it out. The first episode is on NXT Arrival from 2014. The next 2 episodes are in the can. The next 2 episodes are done. The first actual NXT TakeOver from 2014 and NXT TakeOver Fatal 4-Way is also in the can. Fatal 4-Way, the main event was Adrian Neville versus Tyson Kidd versus Sami Zayn versus Tyler Breeze, and it's really, really good. And that pay-per-view was named after WWE Fatal 4-Way, which was Orton, Sheamus, John Cena, and somebody else that I can't remember. So those are in the can, and they are going to go out the next time. Well, one of them is going to go out next time there's a takeover. In case I wasn't clear before when I put those out, when there is a takeover, I'm going to put an episode of NXT Rewind on an hour before the kickoff to the takeover. So if the show starts at 8 and the kickoff starts at 7, my episode of NXT Rewind will start at 6. Now, as we stand right now, unless somebody can tell me, unless I've missed something, because apparently that happens now, I don't know when the next date of the next takeover is. Therefore, I do not know when the next episode of NXT Rewind will be coming out. It's weird working in advance and having a couple in the can ready to go, but yeah, that wasn't a one-off. There are a couple more coming down the pike. LA Knight took on Jake Atlas, and he won. I'm not sure what Jake Atlas is anymore. I'm not really sure what LA Knight is, other than a really cool promo who came down and said that even if they chanted for him, they still wouldn't be cool, which is fine. Legado come out and basically talk all about the ending scene from last week where they stood tall over the Cruiserweight and Tag Team Champions with all of their belts, which was a bit of a flex. I like that. Escobar talks about the measure of what it means to be a man, talks about blood, legacy, titles. Last week was just a vision of the future. Then Joaquin Wilde says, MSK never beat us to win the titles, but we beat them last week. We want a shot at our belts, and, it's not just a measure. We go back to the beginning of the promo. The measure of a man is not just what he does for himself, it's what he does for his brothers, and basically the implication being that they're all going to hug and shake hands at the end of the night, and they're all going to have belts. At which point, I thought MSK was going to come out and say, hey, you want a title shot, come get it. But instead, we got Kushida showing up on the Tron and giving Escobar a rematch for the Cruiserweight Championship, which everything that's happening here is cool. I'm down for another round of Kushida versus Santos Escobar. I'm also 100% down for MSK versus Legado del Fantasma for the tag titles as well. We found out later on in the night that rematch is not only going to happen next week, but it's also going to be a 2 out of 3 falls match. Our good friend Jake DeMarco, who's still going through some stuff. I really do want to encourage you guys, hop on Twitter. I'm not going to spill his business here because it's not my place to do so, but hit up Twitter, Countdown Ended, etc. Just go show him some love. He's a good guy. He contributes a lot on this show. He makes me look good, and that takes a lot of work. So go show him some love, and hopefully we'll get him back on the show quicker than later. But we were talking a bit, and he said it was it's basically that the 2 out of 3 falls match is a great match premise when done properly, and I came around to the idea that I think it's like tailor-made for the Cruiserweight division, because 2 out of 3 falls match can lag. It's like an Iron Man match. No, I'm not suggesting that we do Iron Man matches for the Cruiserweight Championship, because somebody would die, but I think you can take the lull out of a 2 out of 3 falls match by making it for the Cruiserweight Championship, or even making it a specific, like a match specific for that. Again, I'm going to use TNA as the example. Like, you didn't have Ultimate X matches for the tag titles. You didn't, or if somebody's going to come and correct me down in the box below and show me that there was one, but I don't think there was ever, like, an Ultimate X match for the world title. Like, if you wanted, like, take a couple, like, sort of sparse out your matches a little bit. It's why I love the ladder match at TakeOver Stand and Deliver, because a title is made up by a bunch of different things. Obviously, it's who's holding it, who's fighting for it, how much of a platform they're given, what stage they're put on, and whatever. But if you save the stipulations for the world title, if you save the stipulations for the tag titles, if you save the stipulations for the mid-card title, they have an extra little inbuilt piece of enthusiasm in them that the Cruiserweight title didn't get. So by putting not only having that ladder match associated with the Cruiserweight Championship when it has been so closely associated with titles, specifically the Intercontinental Championship, I think it gave the Cruiserweight Championship a little bit more of a robust sense of grandeur, if you will. But yeah, that was a long ramble to say that we're getting Escobar versus Kushida in a 2 out of 3 falls match next week for the Cruiserweight Championship, which is nice. We got a two-way interview with Gonzalez and Martinez about the match they're having next week. The match is going to be really good. These are two badass chicks, and because they're in separate rooms and they do the split screen thing, I don't know why I'm making hand motions, sorry. Because they do the split screen thing and everybody's trying to talk at once, it just comes off really catty. And it's, the way this came off is beneath the standard of the NXT women's division. And that's not these women's fault. I think they were put in a bad spot here. I don't think that was the best way to do it. Bring them out in the ring, give them both a mic, let them shout at each other. Let them have a little bit, like, don't have another brawl. That's not what I'm implying. But let them shove each other a little bit, you know, or have each one of them come out and destroy a jobber. Like, one of them comes out second match of the night and destroys a jobber. The other one comes out sort of towards the end of the night and takes out a jobber. And each one of them, you know, you can kind of do some mirror image stuff. You can sort of say, like, look what I did to her. This is what's coming for you next week. And because they are similar, like, their attitudes are similar in the whole fucking bit. So both of them doing the same, yeah, this is going to be you next week, would have been really good. The two of them sat in separate studios talking over each other and, like I say, sounding really catty. It's less than they deserve, is what I'll say. I lost my place because I'm just special like that. We see Shotzi and Ember making their way towards the ring. They see Frankie Monet's dog sitting on the tank, which is cute, and they pet him and they cuckoo over him, and the dog runs away. And then they look in the tank, and the dog shit in the tank. And is that juvenile? And is that childish? And is that, like, not serious whatsoever? And does that lead absolutely no grandeur to the main event match that we're about to see? Absolutely. Did I laugh? Let's get the light back on here. Can we not? There we go. Did I laugh? Yes. So I'm part of the problem. We see Cameron Grimes, who's left the CWC, and even though it's still COVID times, he's trying to get into a club. He's trying to buy his way into a club with a bouncer that's like 12 feet tall. He's you can't get into the club tonight. I don't care who you are, or how much money you've got. Somebody's bought out the whole club. And then Ted DiBiase shows up, and I get it. I do. But and I get what it's doing, and it's doing what it's supposed to do, and I can't really shit on it, but it's just, okay, we've actually brought, like, we were hinting at Ted DiBiase, and that was more fun. Like, him finding out from a third party, oh, sorry, Ted DiBiase outbid you on this, then Ted DiBiase was just sort of like a thing floating around out there. That was one thing, but he's just there now. So Grimes is going to try and do something. He's got a lot of money, but Ted DiBiase's got more. And he's going to go, Ted DiBiase! And he's going to flail himself around. And it's big, dumb fun. And I know that you guys that have been watching me for a long time are looking at me right now being like, Spaz, you like Shotzi's tank. You like The Fiend when nobody else likes The Fiend anymore. Big, dumb fun. Why don't you like it? It's big, dumb fun. Big, dumb fun is your thing. Big Dumb Fun should be my thing. I can't get into this. I'm sorry. I laugh when it comes on, but not in the way that I'm sure they want me to laugh, which is unfortunate, because the one thing I can tell is I can see that the people involved, and this goes against everything that I've ever said to you guys before, I can tell that the people involved are having a bit of fun with what they're doing. I can tell that they're being given a little bit of leeway. Cameron Grimes is, like, sunk into this character, which is great for him. Ted DiBiase just knows what he's giving to it at this point, and, like, we're not building to Grimes versus DiBiase at TakeOver, so it's just a bit of dumb fun. Maybe he'll give him the $1 million belt at some point, and that'll be fine. But if they rebrand it the NXT $1 Million Championship, I will laugh a whole lot, because turn the dollar sign into an X or some stupid thing. I don't know. It's not for me. I wish it was for me. I like big dumb fun. I wish it was for me, but it's not. You know what is for me? In the main event, the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, my girls, Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon taking on The Way. Now, they didn't come out in the tank because the tank was full of dog shit, but they did come out dressed as Freddie and Jason. And I just go back to the interview that Shotzi Blackheart did on Lillian Garcia's podcast, and I'm gonna keep telling you guys you should go see it because it's listen to it rather because it's a hell of a listen. The two things that she said in the interview that stuck with me is how much she loves horror movies, which sticks with me because I like horror movies. And the other thing is that she wanted to bring hardcore wrestling to the NXT women's division, and she's done both, and I think that's really awesome. So to have the two of them come out as Freddie and Jason, it was just a nice touch. It didn't have anything to do with the match. It was just really good. Normally we get special costumes, special attires, and whatever for pay-per-views. So if you want to do a special attire or a special set of gear or whatever for a normal weekly match, it gives the weekly match, I'm going to channel my inner Michael Cole here for a second, it gives it that big fight feel. Even though it's it's that big fun feel. Yes, that's how cheesy I'm being tonight. Anyway, cheap shots to start, by the way, and it's really hard to say cheap shots in a hardcore match. I get that, but it's fine. Shotzi eats the plexi on the outside. Ember eats the rail. The Way clear out under the ring of all the chairs and tables that they can find. There's a huge headbutt by Indy, a trash can shot by Ember, double team attack in the corner by Shotzi and Ember, a senton elbow by Shotzi, a double drop kick on Indy in the can. They stood up Indy on her knees. Everybody behave themselves. On her knees with the can over her head, and then they double super kicked her in the can, which is nice. And then they went outside, grabbed some bin lids, and gave a bin lid concerto to Candice LeRae as well. So, a couple little nice tributes to other good tag teams, which is a nice thing to see. Shotzi eats the apron edge. Their Ember bulldogs off the guardrail onto 4 chairs on Indy. Now, how do I describe this one? This is like building an erector set. They had when they set out the 2 chairs and they put the seats like this. Well, they did 4 of those. Well, Ember came off of a guardrail and bulldogged Indy Hartwell onto the 4 seats of those. And then they set up another chair on those 4 and set Indy Hartwell in the chair, and they were going to do a suicide dive. Now, there's no when it actually does happen. I will say, go back on the WWE Network, find the Evolve anniversary show that WWE aired live for them. Remember when this, oh my god, they're countering AEW, when really it was just, hey, here's a company we work with, here's the show that they're doing. You can see Shotzi Blackheart on that show, and she does do a suicide dive onto the chairs and eats shit pretty fucking hard. I don't think they're going to do that on a televised episode of NXT. I just don't. I think there's too many variables when you start stacking the open chairs. So it's blocked off by a fire extinguisher shot by Candice LeRae, which does just as much good because Candice gets the boo for blocking what would have been a spectacular but very risky spot. As we go to the commercial break, now a fire extinguisher shot to send us into the commercial break as NXT rolls on isn't the best way to do it, but it's okay. We come back from the commercial break. There's a drop kick by Ember, an enziguri by Shotzi, a double senton against the ropes by Shotzi on both members of The Way, chair shots by Ember, and a double team slam. Top rope senton to the outside through a ladder by Shotzi Blackheart. Shotzi Blackheart got herself up onto the top turnbuckle, looked to the outside of the ring, where the ladder was bridged between the apron and the guardrail, saw a prone Candice LeRae, and thought, I'm going to throw my entire self through her. Now, only half of the ladder broke, so everything tilted, so the landing was really, really, really crunchy. So I know that the super picky of us out there that love to pick on Shotzi Blackheart spots when their favorite superstar wouldn't even do the spot will be out in force. I'm prepared for that. It's all good. By the time you guys are listening to this, it's probably already happened. Not having it, not here. Alabama slam through the table by Ember Moon. Moonsault on Shotzi onto a ladder by Candice LeRae. Spinebuster on the ladder by Indy on Ember Moon. Shotzi eats the plexi again. Shotzi grabs a coffee mug off commentary and beats Indy Hartwell with it until it breaks. A splash off the rigging through the commentary desk by Shotzi. A Batista bomb by Ember in the ring. Candice tosses Shotzi into Moon on the top rope. They all come crawling down. Indy elbow drops Ember. I can speak, I swear. Through a table that's on the outside of the ring. And then Candice LeRae notices there's a table in the center of the ring, hits the wicked stepsister on my girl Shotzi Blackheart on the chair for the 1, 2, 3. The Way are your new women's tag team champions. Now, personally, because I'm incredibly biased, Shotzi Blackheart's my girl and Ember Moon is awesome. I'm kind of bummed about this. It is really, really cool to see The Way pick up some more gold. I really do want Gargano and Theory to become the men's tag team champions at some point as well, so they can be like the tag team champions. It's worth saying as well, it's a boost for Indy Hartwell, because out of the 4 of them, I think it's Indy Hartwell that still needs the boost. If you're at this point with Shotzi, if you're into Shotzi, you're into her. If you're not, you're not. With Ember Moon, she's pretty damn well established. Indy Hartwell could use something like this to boost her up. And Candice LeRae, somebody pointed it out on commentary. It took 4 years in the creation of a secondary title for Candice LeRae to hold some gold on NXT, and that's borderline upsetting. It is. Now, if you look at some of the women's champions, there have been, would I have put Candice over Asuka? No. Would I have put Candice over Io Shirai? Probably not. Would I have put Candice LeRae potentially over Raquel Gonzalez? Maybe, if one of them changed their dynamics or something like that, or there was some chicanery and tomfoolery and something. But, like, I don't know. She seems to be really like locked into the, and I say this about Shotzi and Ember as well, right? It's the opposite of like everything that they do on the main roster. Shotzi and Ember are in on this tag team that they've got. Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell are in on not only their tag team, but the bigger faction of The Way. The Robert Stone brand are in on being the Robert Stone brand, for whatever that means. Catanzaro and Carter are just like, yeah, she's my best friend. Of course we're going to be a tag team. Like, it's really good. Like, as much as I would have wanted my girls to win, as much as I would have wanted Shotzi and Ember to hold on to those titles a little longer, I can sit back and objectively be really happy for The Way and what it means for them. And, I mean, I'm sure they're going to get a rematch sometime along the way, or they're going to be involved in some wicked #1 contenders matches. Now, what I will say as well is go back to earlier on in the night when we were talking to Catanzaro and Carter, and they were talking about finishing up their issue with Tianxia, and then they were going to be keeping an eye on this match. Now, you knew that I mean, the match would have been good, so I feel bad saying this, but you knew that face versus face, Indy Ember and Shotzi versus Catanzaro and Carter would have been a great match, but there wouldn't have been any heat behind it. They're both babyfaces. They're both really lovable babyface teams. Now you get a team like The Way, and how much they're going to turn their nose up to the challenge of people like Catanzaro and Carter. That's going to be fucking brilliant. That's going to be, hate me for saying it all you want, that's going to be Daniel Bryan level shit for this division. And I think it's going to be really, really good. You know what else is going to be really, really good? Next week. I didn't even bother mentioning it because the sound wasn't great and I didn't hear what anybody said, but there was a promo in the back of all the members of Imperium talking different languages and on a Zoom call with Walter, and it's just, alright, whatever. But apparently we're getting Killian Dane versus Alexander Wolf next week. That kind of is what it is, but we're also getting Karrion Kross killing Austin Theory. We're getting the Women's Championship match between Raquel Gonzalez and Mercedes Martinez, and we are now getting the TakeOver Stand and Deliver rematch between Kushida and Escobar in a 2 out of 3 falls match for the Cruiserweight Championship. Next week is looking really good. I wonder what they're going to be accused of trying to counterbook next week. I stay tuned with attuned ears and attuned eyes on my social media platforms. I cannot wait to see the propaganda unfold. I've been speaking for far too long. As you can tell, I'm losing my voice. It's very tired in here. I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.